Hello and welcome to the Shalom TV News Update. I'm Ron Jacobsohn, sitting in for Tisha Bader. Rabbi Joseph Raksin, who was visiting from Brooklyn, was shot and killed on his way to temple-based Menahem in North Miami Beach on Saturday morning. Miami-Dade police are searching for two suspects said to be young African-American males. Although the police claims there was an altercation between the suspects and the rabbi, eyewitnesses told local TV news outlets no argument whatsoever was witnessed at the crime scene. A nearby synagogue, Torah Ve'emunah, which is close to the scene of the crime, was the target of vandalism on July 28th, with swastikas and the word Hamas spray-painted on the front pillars. Miami-Dade police spokeswoman Elena Hernandez tried to dismiss hate crime allegations, stating the shooting was likely a robbery gone bad. The ADL was quick to respond, with the Florida Regional Director Hava Holzhauer stating, currently no evidence has been brought to light that it is motivated by anti-Semitism. Shalom TV will of course continue to cover this news story as new evidence will unfold in the coming days. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and local politicians announced Sunday that they would make a unity trip to Israel this week in an effort to show support for the country amid the fighting in Gaza. The group plans to depart on Tuesday and fly on a commercial airline, the governor's office said. The trip will include meetings with Israeli leaders and visits with Israelis affected by the conflict. It was not clear if Governor Cuomo would meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the governor's fourth trip to Israel. Interestingly enough, this is his first international visit since he took office in 2011. Cuomo is seeking re-election in November. Meanwhile, in Israel, a new 72-hour ceasefire has gone into effect midnight Israel time. In an interesting turn of events, Israeli Finance Minister Yair Lapid is leading a diplomatic effort to gather world powers and moderate Middle Eastern countries to demilitarize Gaza and ultimately transfer authority to the Palestinian Authority. Lapid calls to demilitarize Gaza and the transfer of authority in the Gaza Strip to the Palestinian Authority while maintaining Israel's strategic security interest. The initiative calls for an international conference hosted by Egypt and include the United States, European Union, Russia, Jordan, the Palestinian Authority, Israel, and moderate Arab states, including Saudi Arabia. The initiative also calls for the involvement of the states which will provide economic support for the rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip and the creation of projects which will lead to long-term economic cooperation in the region. In a statement, Finance Minister Lapid reiterated Operation Protective Edge cannot and will not end without a diplomatic front. The four aims of the conference will be the return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza, the positioning of the Palestinian Authority as the responsible party for the rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip, with the funds going through the PA only, including the payment of salaries, agreement on terms of the rehabilitation in exchange for increased security for the citizens of Israel, outlining the method to prevent the strengthening of terror, ensure the demilitarization of Gaza, and the removal of the threat from tunnels and rockets. According to the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics, 218,000 tourist entries were recorded in Israel in the last month, which equals to 26% less than in July of last year. The numbers are the lowest recorded in the month of July since 2007, which is traditionally a big summer vacation holiday month for the local tourism industry. Up until last month, Israel has experienced extremely high numbers of tourists visiting the country, with over 2 million visitors arriving from the beginning of 2014, correlating to an increase of almost 15% compared to last year. Anti-Israel hackers have briefly succeeded to break and deface the personal Facebook page of IDF Arabic language spokesperson Major Avichai Adrei. Among the photoshopped images the hackers created was one which shows him as a vampire with a blood-stained mouth. Adrei, who is a regular guest on Arab networks in the Middle East, is highly active on social media platforms and therefore also a regular target of anti-Israel groups who defame and mock him. Legendary filmmaker Menahem Golan, co-founder of the Canon Group production company and Israeli cinema pioneer, has died. He was 85. With cousin and partner Yoram Globus, Golan ran Canon Films for a decade, releasing more than a dozen films a year in its prime. During the late 70s, Canon was on the brink of becoming the seventh Hollywood major studio. Golan produced more than 200 films, among them action hits like The Delta Force starring Chuck Norris, the Rambo series starring Sylvester Stallone, and the Death Wish sequels top-lined by Charles Bronson. The trials and tribulations of Golan and Globus were the focus of a recent documentary film, The Go-Go Boys, which premiered last May at the Cannes Film Festival, where Golan was in attendance for what is now his last official public appearance. Golan is survived by his wife Rachel and 3 children. And this brings us to the end of the Shalom TV News Update. I'm Ron Jacobsohn, sitting in for Tisha Bader.